Check Jason music.
I can't too far to be going back. I got that bread from straight scratch. Catching them boxes and flipping packs. Pull up on serving exotic J's. 448 got me up and paid. I went and got it, I'm self-made.
All right, man, we back, man.
We back.
Have you chased your check today?
Have you?
And this is episode 6.
Yeah, this is episode 6,
We
season
working,
3.
We working. We forget sometimes. We working.
Season 3, episode 6.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right.
We here, man. We got a dope artist. I mean, I'm sorry, not a dope artist. We have a dope guest today. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
We have a dope guest today, man, and like I'm honored. I'm glad he came on, and you know what I'm saying. I asked him to come on, and it wasn't no problem him coming on. You know what I'm saying. And I'm honored for him to be here. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. You know what I'm saying, but. You tell the people about yourself.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, my name is Isaac Brennan Horton IV. I am the co-owner and managing partner of Oak City Fish and Chips. Also have my hands on a few other things. We'll probably touch bases towards that at the end of the podcast. But, yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, thanks for coming, bro.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, we tapping into the restaurant business on this episode right here, where he gonna give us a little insight on that, and a lot more things too as well, because he's a serial entrepreneur, you know what I mean. But initially, what I know him for is Oak City Fish and Chips.
Nice.
And the city know him for that too, you know what I mean. So I just want you to give the people a little background on you and what you were doing prior to Oak City Fish and Chips.
Well, look, man, my entrepreneurship path, it started at a young age.
Okay.
You know, I was that 7-year-old waking your parents up on a Saturday morning, you know, knocking on the door. You know, your parents looking pissed off because someone's at their door at 9 a.m. And I'm like, hey, you know, sir, man, I mean, I see your grass is a little high.
Okay.
You know, can I mow that lawn? This is 1995.
Okay.
You know, 96, you know, where you could get your grass cut for $5.
Yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah, and you know, I lived in a neighborhood right up New Bern Avenue, right here in Raleigh, and it was a large, growing, middle class black neighborhood, and so there was about 1,000 homes. And so I took my neighbor's yard, and you know, after a few months, I had 40 or 50 yards.
Okay.
And you know, 2 lawnmowers. I had my friends helping out.
Nice.
Went to $10. I keep 5, they keep 5.
Yeah, busting down.
Yeah. And then in middle school, I transitioned. I always had a hustle. I transitioned into cleaning medical offices. You know, people like to tell young kids yes.
Yeah.
You know, for them trying to earn money the right way.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we cleaned medical offices in middle school. And then when I got to high school, I started throwing parties.
Okay.
And social gatherings, because there was really nothing in the city for, you know, young African American kids to do.
Yeah,
really on the weekends.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I would go and rent venues. There was a place up New Bern Avenue called the Ezra Event Center.
Yeah.
And when I was 17, you know, I was the kid. I put on a little suit. Me and my boy put on the suit. We, I drove my car that had a little Maxima or Mazda 626.
Yeah, that was my first car.
That was
my first car.
Was that joint right there.
And that was my first car. My first car was a 1992 Nissan Stanza. It was burgundy.
Okay.
But then I got the Mazda 626. I drive up to the meeting. I put my Sunday suit on, you know, and of course, if you're 16 years old, you can't sign a contract.
Right.
But the way that we carried ourselves, no one ever asked if we were 18. So we were signing contracts for venues at 16 or 17 years old.
Wow.
Y'all carried
Nice.
yourself.
Yeah, and you know, we were throwing parties, and we'd have, you know, 300, 400 kids come to the party, and they, you know, we charge $5 to $10.
Yeah.
And so at 16 and 17, you know, every other weekend, you know, me and my buddy were making a couple of grand.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
It's all right.
you know, I've been in the entrepreneurship world, you know, since I was little. My dad is an entrepreneur.
Okay.
He's actually a scientist as well. Initially, he was the third African American man in North Carolina to get a PhD in chemistry.
Wow. The third.
Huge.
Yeah, the third black man.
Yeah, third black man.
Black person. Right.
Wow.
I'm going to reiterate, the third black person in North Carolina to get a PhD in chemistry.
PhD in chemistry. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, he went to UNC Chapel Hill. But when I was born, I never really saw my dad as a scientist, because at that time he had went to Wharton Business School and transitioned into business because he was an inventor. He has over 132 patents. He's one of the world's foremost experts in intellectual property. Wow. And created several different inventions and then spun businesses off of those things. And one thing my dad always told me was that if you have a product, if you have something good, right, that's just the first step. You know, if you have a golden goose, you know, that's great. But if you can't build a business model, a sustainable, successful business model around it, someone will come up and take it from you. And that's so,
that's real talk, right?
Yeah. And so for me, entrepreneurship was very organic, you know? And so, you know, really what I say is, you know, I went to undergraduate school really to appease my parents.
Right.
You know, I was making, you know, $9,000 to $12,000, you know, a month in high school. Wow. Right.
Yeah.
My biggest event, I partnered with some other local guys who own Billionaires Barbershop.
I remember my boy D was involved with that.
Justin, aka Juicy, and Marcus Short, we partnered up my senior year, and we rented out the Dome building at the NC State Fairgrounds. And we threw a party that had 2,200 people come. We advertised all the high schools in Raleigh, Durham, and Orange County. And we had 2,200 people come, and average person paid about $15 to $20. We had VIP parking. And so we made about $45,000 in that one night. And after our split, that's what, you know, paid my way through
college,
undergraduate school. Right.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Rounded that up.
Hold on. I just want to make sure people understood what was said. You paid for undergrad with one night of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and I had, you know,
That's crazy.
I had, you know,
you had to build up to that point.
I built up to it.
You know what I mean? But executing one night paid for undergrad.
Yeah, I mean, I get out of school. Enloe, I went to Enloe High School right down the street.
I imagine that's what it was. Were you talking about Heidenham earlier?
No, I was talking Village Lake. So
Village Lake, okay.
One light up,
Further
Rogers
up.
Lane, where the Sheets is now.
I'm with you.
And you know, we get out of school at 2:15, and every day we pick a new school to go to. We go to Millbrook on Tuesday. We go to Wakefield on Wednesday. Right? We go to Riverside in Durham on Friday. And our marketing strategy was we had these VIP passes because at that time my uncle was the physician for the Walnut Creek amphitheater, which is now called Coastal Federal, where they just had the Little Baby Chris Brown concert, right? And so I go to the concerts growing up, and I would see that the VIP people, they had the backstage lanyards. So I said, you know what I need to do? I need to pick some VIPs at all these different high schools. Whether it's a star basketball football player or the SGA president or the
They bring everybody to
exclusivity
or the beautiful cheerleader, right? Whatever it was. We pick about 10 people. We get them to VIP. They wear it, you know, every other day, and people would say, "What's that?" You know, and they became the ambassador.
It's like a walking billboard for you.
Walking billboard. And that money actually, because I had grants and scholarships, carried me all the way into starting Oak City Fish and Chips.
Wow. Crazy journey.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's crazy. Beautiful.
That's beautiful. I you know, back to skip back a little bit. I just wanted to, but you kind of answered it. I was going to answer like, how was it like growing up in a household with a scientist? But you, like you said, you never really looked at your father in that light. You know what I mean? Like,
I never saw him as a scientist.
There's the guy with the laboratorial jacket in there.
And even though he really was that guy, right? You know, he went and worked for a company owned by the DuPont family.
Okay.
One of the richest families in the world. Called DuPont Pharmaceuticals. He was, and at that time, DuPont had 10,000 scientists, and he was one of 3 black scientists out of the 10,000 at DuPont.
That's
and
amazing.
And he became one of the world's first non-drug designers when no other drugs had ever been designed before. My dad designed the first drugs in the world at DuPont Pharmaceuticals.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow. But this was this before you were?
This is before I was born.
Before you were born. So your dad almost had a career like a lot of athletes. Like a lot of athletes have their entire career, retire, and then start having kids.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, you know, that was his first chapter of his career.
Yeah.
And then he learned, you know, new tricks after that.
That is insane.
It's crazy.
That is insane. So how much did seeing your father in that light, not in the scientist light, but in the business light, in the Wharton Business School light, influenced how you turned out?
I mean, it was, 100% influence.
Yeah.
Right. My grandfather was a very prominent preacher here in North Carolina.
Okay.
And he was an activist. He was the pastor of First Baptist Church right on Wilmington Street.
Okay.
He was born in Raleigh, born in downtown in Chavis Heights.
Yeah.
My great-grandfather moved to Chavis Heights in downtown Raleigh before it was Chavis Heights. Then it was a free slave community.
Oh.
Is what Chavis Heights was at first.
Okay.
And my grandfather made my dad and my aunt integrate public schools in Eastern North Carolina. So my dad was the first black male to integrate public schools in North Carolina in the eastern half of the state.
Yeah.
I
didn't learn until I was an adult that my mom was the first here, like in the Johnston County area. She was the first black girl that went to school.
That's crazy.
Alone.
Yeah. So
like, you know,
alone.
Alone.
Right.
Can you imagine? Alone. She integrated the school alone.
It's just crazy that close of a generational.
Right.
Not my granddad, right? My dad.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
What I'm saying.
And
that's
my
crazy.
mom.
Yeah, that's
Right.
crazy that close of a generation. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy. Like that we
Insane.
We're not that far from that. You know what I mean?
So the preacher, really was one of the key positions in the African American community where they didn't have to work for white folks because the church supported so a lot of progression and activism, a lot of people felt the results of economic terrorism, being persecuted at their place of work, having their income threatened if they spoke out, if they stood up for themselves. But the preacher it's like the modern day entrepreneur back then because he didn't have a white boss. So he could send my dad and my aunt over to the school and, the KKK burn a cross on our yard, right? And they put in the newspaper, blank has, 10 days to leave town or else, And so my dad had that spirit of bravery in him, and he passed it on to me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was crazy.
I knew that if I wanted to be an entrepreneur and I wanted to have an impact, that part of that is having as much control and dominance over your own life to be able to influence someone else. Independency before interdependency.
That's big facts right there.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's big facts right there, man.
Huge.
Wow. Hey, man, besides the business, you know what I'm saying, your dad deeply rooted in some major moves is being made for just our culture in general, you know what I mean? As well as you just dropped, you know what I mean? That's something for that county, you know what I mean? That was a shifting moment right there.
It was. I wished I'd have known about it sooner, but I understand why I didn't.
Why you say that?
Because
you just saying at the time of, you saying now? Like why?
I understand now why I didn't learn that information earlier in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
I get that. But all right, man. I want to let the people know about like what the restaurant business like.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, how's that treating you? How was it when you came in?
I came in.
Yeah, when you came in, I want to hear all the.
Yeah, and why the restaurant business?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start with why and then how it was when I came in.
All right.
So, I went to Nicaragua in 2012. And, it's one thing to see the commercials on television for 69 cents a day. You can help a starving child. It's another thing to see people who have died from starvation. And when I got back to the States, I was very moved by what I saw. And my undergraduate degree is in economics. And so I began to look into the food problem, the food system. Why is it that in 2012, with all the wherewithal, all the know-how, all the innovation, all the technology, all the world's greatest minds, double PhDs, triple PhDs,
right?
How we haven't figured out certain problems, the solutions for certain problems, like how everyone to have 2 meals a day on the earth,
right?
Everyone to have a habitat, right? And I made a discovery in 2013 when looking at the food system from an economic standpoint. After reading books like The Bottom Billion and a few others, understanding why the poorest billion people in the world are the poorest billion people in the world.
Okay.
And I saw that we were on the brink of the dawn of a new age, that we're entering into what I call a mega transition from soil-based farming to indoor, vertically integrated hydroponic farming, growing fresh fruits and vegetables where the root system is in water.
Yeah.
And it became clear that it wasn't probable that this transition was going to happen, but rather inevitable.
Inevitable.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I saw a study that NASA said that if we cut down every tree in the world and we farmed on that land, that we'd be underfeeding the human population by 20% by the year 2050. 20% of the people in the world wouldn't have food to eat. Wow. This is why we're still alive.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get into hydroponics. But when I was 25, I didn't have $3 million, to launch my first hydroponic facility.
Right.
But I did have $13,500 left from my party day.
Yeah.
So I went under my mattress. I went home. I went under my. I said, "Mom, where's that money at? I got it."
Yeah. You went to the mattress.
Went to the mattress.
Come on.
I got that money, and me and my partner, we went to Durham, and we found a guy who was selling a 30-year-old food trailer. That after we bought it and we unwrapped it, it was 6 different concepts.
Okay.
It was the bloomin' onions, crazy fries. It used to be an old trailer that was used at the North Carolina State Fair.
I knew that was coming. I could see that one. Yep.
Exactly. And so I learned a lot about work ethic, about consumer psychology, about customer service, about the food industry by coming in humbly through the back door of food service, as opposed to my passion and my desire of coming in through food production. It was my goal to be one of the largest food producers in the world because I wanted to help the starving and the poor.
Right.
So my goal behind the scenes, I've been funneling my money from Oak City Fish and Chips into starting my first indoor hydroponic farm. When I first came in, I was a greenhorn. I was, optimistic.
Yeah.
I had moved downtown Raleigh in 2013, and I saw all those food truck rodeos happen on Fayetteville Street. Every weekend there's a beer festival or something.
Crazy. It was like an epidemic at one point. Well, at least here.
Every weekend the streets were blocked off. Right.
Every weekend. Yeah.
And I went out there and I said, man, these food trucks, they got long lines. It's happening every weekend. Seems like a consistent ply of business. How can I get a piece of this? So I went out there with my clicker. I sit on the sidewalk. I pick, every weekend I pick 2 or 3 trucks. I go out there, I see how many customers they're doing. I take a picture of their menu, then I go to Walmart and I would reverse engineer their menu. I would see what it would take for me to duplicate that food. And I would extrapolate and try to create their P&L for that day.
Profit and loss.
Profit and loss statement for that day, and assess the profitability. So me, I don't have any culinary background. I didn't go to culinary school.
Right.
I'm a business person. So I didn't have a grandma's recipe that I loved, or a secret a baked dish that I could do very well.
Right.
So I tried to bring in business intelligence to the food truck industry, which at the time was a pretty undeveloped segment of business in terms of government laws, zoning, and just general awareness. In the big cities, New York, LA, DC, they knew about food trucks. When I was starting my food truck, we called different companies and say, hey, can we come do lunch? We got a food truck. They say, what's that? We got a food truck.
It was like the Wild West.
Exactly.
Like a free fall out here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I took it as an opportunity to try to add in business intelligence, but the opposite is true too. You can have a good business model, but if you don't have a good product, your model could be genius and you could jump over different hurdles and bypass different obstacles.
Yeah.
But if people don't like your stuff, you're not making any money.
Right.
So I created 2 proprietary spice blends. That's the secret behind Oak City's, appeal.
Yeah.
One you taste on the hush puppies and the French fries, and the other that you taste on the seafood.
Okay.
And I would love to be able to say that, you know, after 500 iterations of trial and error and, you know, time in a food science lab, that we created the perfect blend of herbs. Man, we went to Walmart. Well, we got 15.
Started at the Walmart.
We got 15 different spices. We lined them up. And I made those seasoning blends in the first try, both of them.
Wow.
It was serendipitous.
Yeah.
You know,
was meant.
which goes to show you that anybody, you know, can strike gold.
Yeah.
Right. Like I said, I'm not a chef.
Right.
Right. My partner wrote down the recipes because she knew that if I was going to write them down. Right. She's the organized one.
Yeah.
And we went out to the North Carolina State Fairgrounds on one of those Saturdays. We paid the fee to go out there, and the first couple was a black couple with 2 daughters, and the daughters went crazy over the shrimp. And you know, from there we tried to branch out and put the truck in areas during the week that will give us exposure. And the first place that we got permission to go was the ACS call center.
Oh man,
on Green Road.
that was a gold mine.
Yes, Lord. Boy, that was a
gold
I mean,
mine right
You
there.
couldn't have.
You'd have got me 4 times out the week. You'd have got me. I swear you would have.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's I mean, you couldn't be no perfect. You said that's the first place they allowed you to go?
Yeah, see, so, you know, there are certain cities in the country where food trucks can pull up.
Yeah.
You know, if you get there first, you can parallel park, you can pull up.
Yeah.
But in Raleigh, the zoning laws, food trucks cannot operate on public property.
Okay.
So, like, you know, people may think, well, you know, the courthouse on, you know, Fayetteville Street and Salisbury Street has plenty of foot traffic. Why don't you pull up right there?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't do that here.
You can't sit there.
Yeah, you can't do that here, right? You only can operate on private property with a permit. So, you know, at that point in time, I thought to myself, okay, how can we get access to a large group of people and, you know, sell the value proposition of, you know, quick and speedy food? Well, we went to ACS call center because those folks only had 30 minutes for lunch. And so companies, large companies like Xerox and some of these companies, you know, they're experiencing turnover because people are coming back in a non-punctual fashion.
Right.
And they're losing it after 5 times of coming back from lunch late.
That's
You know,
right.
we gotta let you go.
Right.
Right. So my sales point was, hey, look, we'll be right there in the back of your parking lot. You know, we'll be a quick, speedy option for your employees.
Yeah, we're helping with your retention.
Helping with your retention. And we went back there, and you know, that's where I learned one of my first lessons in the food industry is that people take it personal. Your competitors take your entrance into the industry personal, right? Because most restaurants are small businesses, right?
for sure.
There's not 1,000 McDonald's, right? The majority of the businesses in the United States of America are small businesses, right?
Right.
There's only a Fortune 1000, Fortune 2000, Fortune 500, Fortune 100, right? But the majority of the businesses, over 80% of the businesses in
small.
America are small.
Yeah.
Under 50 employees.
Wow.
And so we went out there. There's a Mediterranean truck out there. You know, so now we're cutting into their business.
Yeah.
Right. We were out there, and another truck one day came up. We were out there 3 days in a row. Another truck came out there on Friday. It was payday Friday. And his truck was called Sarge Chef on Wheels.
He used to clean it up.
And he used to clean it up. Now he pulls up and he sees, you know, we're already there.
Yeah.
And you know, he comes up to the truck and says, hey, and, you know, I think he was probably in his early 60s, late 50s. He says, hey, young man, how you doing? Someone said that you was up here in my spot. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know we was in your spot.
Yeah.
But, you know, let me finish with these customers and we can talk in a little bit. And after we finished the lunch session, he came up and said, hey, look, you know, this is a good spot. And, you know, but if it's too many trucks up here, we all won't be making money.
Right.
So we can work together. You know, you come on certain days, I'll come on certain days.
Yeah.
You know, we can rotate.
Right.
I said, okay, that sounds fair. You know, this guy's been here for, you know, doing this for, you know, a year or so. I don't know.
Right.
And so tomorrow was the next day was supposed to be my day.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, we get up, we prep the seafood, we go pick it up from the market, we come out there. He has his van parked right in the space, blocking it.
Oh man, he played.
It was a sneaker. He played me. It was a sneaker attack.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, okay, well, you know, my dad always taught me that when you're doing business and you're making money, there's always going to be what's called a competitive response.
Guaranteed.
Come
on
and so,
with it.
And so I have dozens of stories like that, from trying to bust into different rodeos and in the city, to different opportunities where we've had to use our the competitive parts of our mind, you know, to anticipate competitive responses and to get into different festivals and different events that really mean a big difference for a small business bottom line.
Yes. So I have a question. How do you go about not taking that competitive response personally?
Look, man, I'm not in it for the show. You know, I'm in it for the dough.
It's business.
Right, it's business, right?
Business.
Right. And so for me, you know, part of it is understanding that my ultimate goal has been to transition into food production, not just be in food service as well.
Wow.
I have a larger vision, larger passion. So
that
when
parking lot is not where you're trying to be.
right, so you know, for some people, you know, what was a small room in the house of my entrepreneurship journey was certain trucks' whole homes.
Exactly.
Right? That was their whole universe.
Yeah.
Right. And so I always had empathy and understand how they could take it personal. But for me, you know, one of my mottos is I believe in excellence through simplicity. It's often the case that people need to do less better. And so we created a very concise, easy to execute, but delicious concept. And as a result, we were able to serve more people faster, which increased our exposure at a faster rate, which allowed us to launch more trucks at a faster rate, which allowed us to transition into brick and mortars at a faster rate. And as we began to see the effects economically from that, you know, we began to see that Oak City Fish and Chips was something that franchising could be on the horizon for. And we began to make our plan for that move. So.
Wow. Okay.
And then you went from truck to brick and mortar.
Yeah. Well, we went from one truck. So you know, our total investment in the first truck was about $22,000. We got it for $13,500. We put another 8 or so into the truck. We made our money back in the first 21 days. Right. Wow. So most small businesses, you know, it takes them, you know, 24 months to get into the black. Yeah. Right. Yeah. In the restaurant industry, you know, specifically, you want to know more about the restaurant industry. 95% of restaurants fail in the first 24 to 36 months. Yeah. Right. But on the flip side, right, 95% of franchises make it because you don't know what you don't know as an entrepreneur. Right. But someone giving you a manual saying, "Hey, watch out for this. Look out for that." You know, it's a huge point of difference.
Yeah, it's funny because before we got into this conversation, one of my questions was, why didn't you start with a franchise? But I understand why now. That was an unnecessary question at this point. Now you are the franchise.
I'm the franchisor. Yeah. So Oak City Fish and Chips is the first black-owned seafood franchise in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard it here first. Goddamn.
Yeah. Say it again. Every time we said first black something here, we reiterated today. So let's reiterate that.
Oak
Say it
City
again.
Fish and Chips is the first national black-owned seafood franchise in the United States.
Come on with it.
I'm all over the place. We got to give it something. We got to give it something on that.
Got to get that up.
That's major. That's major right there, man.
I appreciate it.
That is, man.
It's been a lot of hard work.
I can imagine, man. That, you know what I mean? 'Cause like we talked about it on the episode. People they don't talk about that gap in between the beginning and success. That blood, sweat, and tears. The nights that people don't talk about. That, you know what I mean? They don't highlight that part.
Yeah, even in success, there's still blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah,
right.
True indeed.
When you start something, you start off with one seed, right? And you know, I think whatever gift or ability that is, you know, whatever your passion is, that that mixture, that concoction of your passion, your gifts, your abilities, you know, everyone is born with a seed.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to have the faith and the courage to plant your seed. Most people, they're afraid to plant their seed, so they cut their seed and they harvest it, you know, in their hand, you know, which doesn't have much success. It doesn't grow, right? It has no exposure. But what a lot of people, you know, are afraid of is when you plant that seed, then the work starts, right? Because you got to water it, right? You got to make sure that, you know, it has the right exposure to the sun, right? You got to make sure the sun's not too hot and doesn't burn the sprout.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to make sure that the bugs don't come and eat it up, or that when it grows, the rabbits don't come. Right? But the purpose of a seed, for most people, is they're thinking about the fruit, right? But how I looked at Oak City Fish and Chips was a seed that produces more seeds, right? Looking past the first fruit, right? Thinking about creating a field, right? The platform in which a seed goes into, right? Because the field requires maintenance, right? You got to pay for that field, right? Most people have a note on that field, right? And so you can plant that one seed, right? It can produce, you know, a harvest of wheat, for example. And in the next year, if you don't plant that wheat seed again,
there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. So, you know, what I always try to encourage other entrepreneurs when I do one-on-one coaching for them is I encourage people to plant something that produces fruit, that produces more seeds, like the apple tree. You know, unlike the winter wheat, right, which dies and you have to replant in the summer and the fall, right? The apple seed, you know, you plant that apple seed and it takes 6 years, 7 years for that apple tree to grow. But once the apple seed grows, it produces fruit for generations. So I've always tried, every business that I embark in, I try to look at it from the apple seed perspective and not the wheat perspective.
That is.
That's hard. That's heavy.
That was dope.
That was dope.
That was dope.
That was dope how you broke that down right there.
That was dope. Is that in the book?
I already started working on the book.
Not yet. Okay, you ain't started working on the book yet.
It's coming. You got an extraordinary story, man. It's got to be put in the book, man. It's got to be put in the book.
This or you just have to do this at least once a month so we can get all this information from you.
Facts.
You know what I mean? That, you know, I'll take that too. You know,
that's a fact. We can't get it all in an hour.
No, absolutely not.
We can't get it all. But for sure, man. Hey, I've ate at the restaurant numerous times, so I'm a fan of the restaurant. And have you ate at the restaurant before?
Where the look? I don't think I have.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, you haven't. Definitely.
I don't think I have.
That's why I was about to say the next episode we're gonna be there at the restaurant eating.
That would be lovely.
Conversating.
Yeah,
absolutely. That'll be dope. That'll be
that would
dope.
be lovely. I would love that.
Yeah, for sure, man. What's up? What else? Talk to us about some of the other endeavors you're involved with outside of the Oak City Fishing.
So, you know, like I said, you know, my passion and vision was to be in food production.
All right.
And so in 2016, about a year after I started Oak City Fish and Chips, and we started making some real money, I went to my dad, and at that point in time, he had just finished building the 3 largest solar farms in the state of Massachusetts.
Wow.
With a fun downtown Raleigh here called Cherokee Group. Okay. And he was ramping down. You know, my dad's 65. Okay. He's, you know, ready to retire. And I came to him and I said, "Listen, Dad, I really, you know, want you to hear me.
Right.
Okay, take me seriously. Right? You know, because I'm in my 20s at this point.
Yeah.
Right. And but I really think that we should be one of the families that gets in on the ground floor of hydroponic farming. Just like Henry Ford, the Ford family, happened to be alive and have the resources to get in on the transition from the horse and buggy to the automobile, right? Just like the Carnegie family was around from the transition from, you know, building stuff from from popsicle sticks, to megalithic structures being built that required steel and more sturdy, and so these titans of industries emerged out. That I had a dream, and in that dream, my grandson was sitting on my lap, and he looked up and said, "Granddaddy, you mean to tell me that when you were growing up, y'all used to pool your water in the dirt?"
Right.
And I had no clue about what that meant.
Wow.
You had that dream.
It was vivid. I saw. So I'm Isaac the fourth, right?
Yeah.
And I saw, and my dad is Isaac, the third.
Yeah.
So in our new company, they everyone calls us I3 and I4, right? So I saw I6.
You saw 6,
right? I saw
yeah.
I6.
You saw size 6. Oh,
And I was
man.
talking, I was talking to them and teaching them some stuff, and he looked up and said, "Granddad, you mean to tell me that when y'all used to pull your water out?" And I had no clue what that meant.
That is insane.
I had no clue. But as I began to do more research on hydroponics, and I saw those stats like NASA released, I saw the stats about soil erosion, I saw the stats about the up and coming droughts and fresh water shortages that the world would be experiencing.
Yeah.
It began to be more clear that my grandson would be born in a time where people couldn't fathom the wasteful water practices that we have today. Leaving your water running while you're brushing your teeth, flushing the toilet every time you pee, right?
Man,
Because 60% of the world is entering into water shortages. They just announced a 1,000-year drought in California.
That's right. I've been watching Lake Mead on YouTube all week.
Yeah,
all week.
We saw how the water is being treated. Right, we saw what happened in Flint, Michigan. Right, we see what's happening out on the West Coast with fracking, where it takes 8 barrels of water to produce 1 barrel of oil. Right, we see what's going on. We know that the aquifer in eastern North Carolina is polluted with hog waste. In western North Carolina, it's the coal ash from the power plants. Over 200 different contaminants found in the water in the aquifer. Right, and so. I came to my dad and I said, I think that you have all the expertise for us to really have a go at hydroponics. His patents deal with water, with light technology, right? Plants need water,
they
need plants need light. And then his PhD was a PhD in synthetic organic chemistry of natural products.
Wow.
So organic chemistry, plants need organic chemistry. Right. So, we made a deal that if I learned the food business, he would learn the science. And so on Capitol Boulevard for 3 years, around the Durant Road area, we had a 4,000 square foot facility where secretly we grew over 66 different species of fresh fruits and vegetables, hydroponically. He ran tests, and it was our R&D, and that company was called Oak City Hydroponics. So that's something that I didn't need to announce or let anybody know. Right, that was our behind the scenes trying to figure this thing out. And then last year on my birthday, we formed a new company. It's called the Green Blue Marketplace. Wow. Okay, and it's a physical and virtual marketplace for healthy longevity, okay, with hydroponic quality food, super organics as a centerpiece of our marketplace.
Wow. Green Blue.
The Green Blue market. See, so green is for sustainability, and blue is for healthy longevity. Okay. Right, and the blue comes from a part of our scientific study and the creation of the the corporate culture of the Green Blue Marketplace centers around the scientific findings of the study of the world's longevity hotspots.
Okay.
Called the Blue Zones. Right.
Okay. Blue Zones.
And we know that the one of the founders of the Blue Zones is called the Blue Zones just because he circled these places on a map with a blue marker.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Just that simple.
And so blue is for healthy longevity, but you can eat organic foods or super organic foods, once or twice, and that's good for your body. But if it's not sustainable, it won't last.
Yeah.
And so green is for sustainability.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
That is.
I hate to interject, but as you were telling the story about I-6, and I had to show Chris, as you were telling the story about I-6, I got a text. My daughter is 9 centimeters dilated right
Oh,
now. I'm about to be a
wow.
grandfather, like as we speak. You know what I mean? So you telling me the story about I-6? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's real shit. Yeah.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Big, major news right
Major
there, man.
news. This is that was a dope story to hear at this
That
moment.
was,
This
man.
moment.
Yeah, at
I
this
remember
moment.
I remember you remember telling me and Carlos that we was at your restaurant. We was at downtown. What's the one that
Morgan Street Food Hall.
Morgan Street Food Hall? Do you remember that day? You brought your laptop out and everything. You showed us the presentation. and
Oh,
everything.
okay. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, man. And you blew me away that day, bro. Me and Loso went back to the studio. I was just like, damn, bro, did you hear, bro? Like, he was just like, yeah, man. I think y'all went to school together. I think you remember
Yep.
you from school. He was just
That's
like,
right.
man, bros, I've always been about business since I've known him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
insane.
that was inspiring just to have that moment with you right then and there. You know what I mean? That inspired me.
Yeah, man. I'm passionate about it. I mean, I love to talk about it in even more detail, but to be transparent, there's a few more pieces of intellectual property that we're filing for it.
Sure.
So next week I'll be down in Atlanta at InvestFest. It's the first festival of its kind that deals with kind of like, it's a festival like Dreamville caliber, but it's all centers around Black group economics, investing, fintech, so crypto, blockchain.
Yeah.
It's dope. There'll be Tyler Perry, Steve Harvey, Earn Your Leisure, different guys will be there. And someone in one of my presentations, because I've been, for the past 30 days, I've been raising funds for the Green Blue Marketplace in my friends and family round before we launch our Series A. Okay. And one of the guys in one of the presentations said, man, he had a relationship with Fox Soul, which is shooting InvestFest, and said, I want to introduce you to the producers over at Fox Soul. And I want them to see this. I think you should be in InvestFest.
Yeah.
And so I'll be interviewed right after Charlamagne the God next week in Atlanta at the first ever InvestFest.
Wow, that's major.
That's major.
That's major. Yeah,
man. That's major.
yeah, that's major. Yo, congratulations,
Thanks, man.
bro. Congratulations. That's wow.
It is, man. It's inspiring dude, man. I'm trying to tell you, man. Yeah, the energy, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you come around certain people, you know what I mean, and you get that vibe. Man. I get a genuine vibe from you, and you know what I mean, and very humble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And very transparent about things. You know what I mean? If you try to help people out, give them as much information as possible.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to make it, man.
Facts.
The thing that I always saw growing up was the pressure on Black folks to have to be puffed up to protect themselves, because the mainstream looks at us as the minority. But my dad always told me that you are not the minority.
Right.
We live in a global economy now, and the majority of the world is colored.
That's a fact.
Yeah, and so I never saw myself as a minority growing up, and so, but a lot of the insecurities in the Black community that stems from slavery and the slave mentality is something that I recognized as a mountain that we have to climb out of, and that we will climb out of.
Yeah.
But in terms of humility, I see that a lot of people in our community are either really puffed up as a defense mechanism, or they have a sense of kind of false humility. It's kind of like, oh no, you got it. I'm trying to be like you, or must be nice, right? Yeah. But I don't look at humility as having to downplay your success. I've always looked at humility as not looking down at man, but looking up to God.
Okay.
And if you have that perspective,
right,
you know that there's no time for me to look down on anybody else, right? Because I have so much farther to go. I can't bask in this sense of personal aggrandizement because, I know that there's a level. If I'm on level 2, I know there's a level 3. I know there's a level 4, right? So, it's like kind of like the whole lesson of the circle of knowledge, right? People say that the wise man knows that he doesn't know. If you meet somebody that thinks that they know everything, it's because they know very little, right? The person that knows the letter A, that's all he knows, thinks, I know everything. A, I,
Yeah.
hey. But then there's a person that knows A through Z, all 26 letters, right? They know the alphabet, right? That's all they know. They know, hey, look, you only know A. I know B, C, D, E. Right? Then there's a person that knows I can rearrange these letters and I can create a word, right? But then that person knows that there's an unlimited combination of words. And there was said to be a person in the world at one point in time that knew every single word, you know? But then, you know, that person knows that I can arrange these words and create and so on.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
Right? The more you know, the more you know you don't know.
Facts.
And that's a humbling precept that has kept me grounded and kept my head on the swivel, kept me talking to people, accepting opportunities like this and coming and talking to you guys, because I'm expecting to leave here with some gems as well.
Yeah, I hear you.
Something that you guys impart on me that helps me along my way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's dope.
That's facts, man.
Wow.
And that's what we create the platform for you know, people to come in and tell their experiences and give us their testimonies, for people to hear, and you know, and because a lot of people come in business with just being with phobias and just you know just having their own little things that scares them away from wanting to do that. And that's why I want people to come on here and get a transparent view of an entrepreneur person, or a person that's not even necessarily, I want to say, hit their pinnacle, or they, you know what I mean, they're still in the fire, they're still it's still right, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I want people to be able to get some insight on that, and that's why we created this platform for that. Yeah. And for when you come on here, just like you said, for you to receive some gems as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's, you may see if we may give you a different perspective on things, you know what I'm saying, by coming in and people wanting to tap into your world and get information from you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
that was the goal.
It is definitely the goal. I mean, and one word that keeps coming to mind for me is inspiration. Like, it's hard to be what you didn't see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to be what you didn't see.
Because the brain's a pattern seeker.
Right. And you got to see something, and you definitely became what you saw. Even if a glimpse would give somebody an inkling that they could be, you know what I mean? Yeah. On the path that you took. You know what I mean? To take that one thing can make them think a little bit further than they would have thought before. Yep. You know what I mean? So just to give people the opportunity to see people that might do that for them is a lot. You know, because we didn't always get to see it, and we don't. Today it is a time where we get to see a lot more because of the internet. Yep. But a lot of what we see on the internet don't serve that. Yeah. You know, so to be a space where we can be genuine and serve, you know, I think is important. So
yeah, it's not just a highlight reel. You know
there you go.
I don't never want the show to be a highlight reel. I want it to be, you see it from every aspect. You know what I mean? You see it from my failures to my I don't know, to I'm trying to figure it out, to my I think I got it, to I do have it, but it's still more to learn.
It's still more to learn. I mean, and that's one of the things that we have to get out of people who are inspired and then aspire to be entrepreneurs, is that, you know, there's this resting place, right? You know, what I believe is that, you know, I'm a purpose-driven person, right? So while I may reach a place in my life where the things I do are not motivated by attaining a certain level of sustenance, where I'm no longer doing things to pay my bills, right? I will still be in a place where I'm doing things that help others. Yeah. And if it produces money or value, that's a byproduct of it being something that is helpful to someone else. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, people wanting to be rich. You know, absolutely. I don't believe in the term filthy rich.
Yeah, right.
You know,
yeah, because it ain't filthy.
Right. It's, you know, it's what you do with the money.
Yeah.
Right. Right. But I've always wanted to be extremely rich. Yeah. Not from a position of greed.
Right.
But, you know, I've known and I felt in my heart since I was little, when I was knocking on those doors, mowing those lawns, that at some point in time in my life, it was going to be very important for me to have more than enough, because God was going to call on me to be able to help someone else. Wow. And in order to be able to help others, you have to be self-sufficient.
Yeah. Like, I tell people, like, they say your cup runneth over, you know, and that means you help, but your cup can't run over unless it's full.
That's fact.
You know what I mean? Like your cup has to be full for it to run over. You know, so
and it takes time to realize that money's a tool, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's not from a place of greed. Just you using it as a tool to guide you, and what God is guiding you. But you're using that as a tool to get this mission accomplished. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is helping people and informing people about things that could change their lives. You know what I mean? And
and creating products that could allow them to change their lives. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Yeah, it's about giving. It's about sharing, because in order for me to go to the next level, right? Franchising was naturally the next step, right? If you're on a level, right? So I'm on a level where there are 300 of the food trucks, right, in Wake County and Durham County, right? And in order for me to be elevated to the next level of breakthrough, right, I have to duplicate myself. I have to get rid of the space that I'm occupying on that level, right? So when we opened up, at the food hall, I made $1 million in the first 6 months, right? Now it's time for me to create other millionaires that want to create, more Oak Cities in other areas, and then as a result of having them occupying this space that I could have tried to occupy myself. Well, I want to own all the restaurants in Atlanta. I want to own all the DC locations. I'm going to own all the Oak Cities, right? Well, I would still be on the same of operating the day to day, right? And so for me to get to where I'm making $10 million a year, $20 million a year, I have to empower other people to make $1 million a year or $2 million a year.
Yeah.
And so by occupying that space, it directly bumps you up. Not indirectly, but directly elevates you up, to the next level.
That's
Hey, look, that's game, right? He just gave out some game,
you cooking with show enough grease.
Yeah,
and I was gonna tell you, you asked, had I had it?
Yeah,
I have not, but I have witnessed people have it. I have witnessed people have it. And they were enjoying themselves.
Yeah. Most people, there's a pressure. I want to be the big fish, in the small pond, right. And a lot of people feel threatened by other people wanting to come into their space, right? Like I said, I experienced, when we first started, food trucks were not nice to us at all. You pull up to a rodeo, they're looking like, who's this new truck? What they think they're gonna do? We're gonna, but that comes from a mentality where you really are more concerned about what your competitors can produce being greater than what you can produce. If you produce a good product, if you have a good spirit, right, the quality and your work ethic will always, reflect in your treatment of others and your competitors. And that's why we've tried to, while working, I've worked 16-hour days for the past 6 years, right? We still try to make time to help. We've helped other people start their food trucks from the ground up. We've helped other people build their food trucks from the ground up. We've done
competition. You've helped
competition that we've helped.
Okay.
Venues that we were not able to get in because of how we maybe looked, right? We've helped other people slide into those doors, right? That were maybe quieter or, didn't have such a bigger presence because people might be afraid that I may make a fuss about it. So, and you pay it for it because you reap what you sow.
But that's you being confident with yourself and your business being confident with itself. It doesn't hurt me to help. You know what I mean?
That's right.
My spot solidified. You know what I mean? I'm good as long as I do, like you said, all the components that's a reflection of who you are. It shows through your business. That overrides all the other stuff.
Yeah, the greatest person in the room is a person that's helping the most people. That's what I was always taught. Not who has the most money. It's about influencing others. Right. And like you said, money is a tool. I realized that in my early 20s. It's a transformative power. You know, everyone, when you do stuff, you know, everyone, whether you're going to the grocery store, your 9-to-5 job, you're working as your own boss in your own business, you help a lady carry her groceries up the steps. Yeah. Everything you do is generating some type of value or anti-value. Right? Yes. It's kind of like Dragon Ball Z, right? Everybody has that power meter above their head. It's not that money is part of that power meter, but money kind of serves as a ledger in part that demonstrates some of the value that you've generated in the universe. And then it's stored in that power level. It's not that when you go to the Porsche dealership and you want to get a Panamera, right? That you know, the money has value. You have the value, right? You've done things
that earn the money.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you give them the money transforms into a Porsche.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. The money is just a symbol.
It's an alchemy of sorts. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's a tool.
Yeah.
A symbol. A tool.
I feel like once you realize that and can grasp that, that's when things start changing for you.
Yeah. And
financially,
apply it.
And you know what I'm saying?
If you can apply it.
Yeah. If you can apply it. Yeah. You know what I mean? But everybody don't. That's an easy said phrase, but you just kind of grasp. You know what I mean? And that take time. Like some people grasp it, and like you say, in your 20s, some people don't grasp that to 30s, 40s. You know what I mean? Everybody's journey is just different when it comes to finances, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it has to be a certain amount of discipline too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You have to know what the value so that you have the discipline. You see what I mean? And I don't think a lot of us know it early.
Yeah.
You know, but it's
you gotta
be
sometimes you gotta be around individuals or be witness that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't understand it when you're witnessing it, but it kind of eventually
you'll know it when you know you saw it.
Yeah.
You'll know you saw it. That's real.
Right.
Have you ever heard the term "big, hairy, audacious goal"?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? I was working at a place called True Parallel. It's a digital marketing company in Cameron Village.
Okay.
This is my first job out of college, and that's one thing I could tell you that I took from there, and that's what you said with Blue Green was trying to solve the issue before 2050 hits. That's a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what you set for and that's the goal of the company, and you are building towards that thing. That's Amazon's big, hairy, audacious goal was to, I think it was to sell every book in the world on the internet. Is to be the largest library on the internet of some sort, and then it blew past that. But that's a huge, hairy, audacious goal.
Yep.
You know, things like that. You're well on your way, bro.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to feed 1 billion people before I die. That's what I want to do.
Wow, that's a big, hairy, audacious goal.
And you know, and it's funny you brought up Amazon because you know, a real big tenet of the Green Blue Marketplace is trust.
Okay.
You know, because no one knows where the food comes from anymore.
Yeah.
Right. The transparency in the food system is dark.
Yeah.
Right. But Amazon, see, Jeff Bezos, he developed a culture of trust with Amazon. Right. At that point in time, you know, people didn't. E-commerce was a relatively new invention. Right. People didn't trust used books online, right? You had to go to a place like Ed McKay's. You want to look at the book because a page could be missing, right? A toddler could have scribbled on one, or the whole back half of the book, the cover could. People were collecting books, you know, as antiques, and he developed that rating system that said, hey, you know, if you know, I got the book from Isaac, you know, and it was in bad shape, I can give him a 3-star, right? So people could assess a level of trust. And then once he got people to trust buying that small segment of people that were interested in used books to buy used books from Amazon, of course he could get you to trust them to buy new books. Yeah. Right. And once he built that culture of trust, right, he can get you to buy anything. Yep. And now that's why you can buy TV from Amazon, because he built that foundation of trust. Well, with the Green Blue Marketplace, right, if you'll trust us with your food. Right? You trust us with everything. Yeah. And so what we're teaching is group economics, right? the Green Blue Marketplace is a club of clubs. Okay.
Okay.
You can join as an individual, right? But we prefer you to join in a group. In the Green Blue Marketplace, a group is defined as 20 individuals or more, right? And but it can be your company, right? You work for IBM, you work for Microsoft, you work for Apple, like the campus they're building, right?
Yeah.
Apple will get a membership to the Green Blue Marketplace and then offer it
To the employees.
to their employees, right?
Yes.
Instead of going out in the forest, right, and sniping all the deers individually, I want to get them at the watering hole.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Genius.
Absolutely genius. Yeah, absolute genius.
I don't got no
Appreciate it, man.
word for it, man.
Yeah, visionary, genius.
Definitely visionary. Definitely, man.
Yeah, this is,
Definitely.
bro. I don't. My mind is blown.
It's one for the books, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so this is the first public platform I've mentioned the Green Blue Marketplace on.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah,
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
Hey, look, give it.
Hey.
That's big, man.
Thank
That's
you.
huge.
Thank you,
Major,
bro.
major.
We publicly announced the company next month.
Okay.
We met with the mayor and the city manager. They're publicly endorsing the company. We're in talks of making Raleigh the first green blue city in America. Last year at the National Mayor's Convention, the 1,500 largest cities all endorsed the Blue Zone method.
Wow.
Because the concept of the mostly plant-based diet had lowered 30 of those cities' healthcare costs by 49%.
Wow.
So, we're adding the green on
Yeah. Yeah.
like sustainability.
Yeah.
Right. But our goal is to start creating green blue cities, green blue communities, green blue neighborhoods, green blue households, right, and green blue people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where people are, living to 100 years of age, healthy.
Yeah.
Because our life expectancy in the African American community, especially black men, it's low.
I know it.
68.
I know it.
69 years
Yeah.
old. And then for most people in America, their last 10 years of life
Yeah.
is hell.
Yeah.
Right. It's painful.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot of medicine. Right. It's shame and embarrassment, having to lean on people, like your kids or your grandkids. And you feel like a burden on people. So what we're talking about is healthy longevity, living a long time, but healthy in those years. The people in the blue zones, they're 95 years old, they're 100 years old doing jumping jacks.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're walking 2 miles to go get their water to bring it back, right?
Wow.
They're cooking still. They're trimming the hedges. They're
living.
They're living.
They're living.
Yeah.
It's a fact. They're not just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's major, man. That's
Wow. Yeah. So we definitely gonna have to revisit this because
Oh yeah, we can't get it out
once
of
once it's officially announced, we gotta direct people to it.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. We should be closing on the first site for the first Green Blue Marketplace in Southeast Raleigh. I want to do it in the quadrant of the city where I'm from, 27610.
Come on.
Right, so it's not going to
Yeah.
be.
Give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. 'Cause that's major
Yeah,
too, man.
it is.
And taking
It
it back
is.
to the hood, man.
Yep.
Incredible.
So, the site shouldn't be too far from my Southeast Raleigh location at Oak City Fish and Chips.
Okay.
It's walking distance.
Nice.
And I plan on closing that deal next week for 5 acres. The Green Blue Marketplaces are 20,000 square foot facilities
Okay.
that are placed in and throughout your community, like Domino's or McDonald's, right? Not a 50,000 or 100,000 square foot facility, right, that's 200 miles away and then shells
Right.
into distribution, right? We're right in the community.
No more food deserts.
Right, no more food deserts, right? So, everyone thinks their food's secure, right?
Yeah.
But when the 18-wheelers don't show up to the grocery store,
That's right.
what you gonna do?
That's right.
Right, we saw that during COVID, right? We saw the fragility of the supply chain system, the logistics system of the world. We saw toilet paper can get missing. We saw water can get missing.
Yeah.
Right. We saw bread. We saw the prices of eggs and milk go up. Right. Yep. It's the canary in the mine. Right. If we don't change how we start thinking about food, in the country and in the world, right? 50% of our food, right, in the United States comes from overseas.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
Wow.
Well, it shouldn't be that bad. We so far from
Jeez.
You know what I mean? We far away from our great-great-grand. You know what I mean? Like people having farms and.
But not even great, right? When my dad was growing up, there was no grocery stores, right?
Yeah.
The first grocery store in North Carolina was Piggly Wiggly.
Wow,
That's right.
I remember that. It was one of the Apex.
Exactly. When he was a kid,
Piggly Wiggly.
they got the Piggly Wiggly, right? Before the grocery stores, the retailers came in to the communities, right? You got your collard greens from Miss Lewis,
Yeah, facts.
right? You got your sweet potatoes from Miss Carol, right? Some people had enough land, they can grow extra, right?
Yeah.
They could go to the farmer's market, right? But
Right.
everyone knew where their food came from in the 50s and in the 60s, right? And now, you know,
You have no idea.
have no clue.
You don't even know if it's food.
you ain't lying.
Yeah. I mean,
They got fake eggs.
yay.
Like everything.
I'm talking
Everything.
about that, not the
Not vegan egg. I'm talking about fake egg.
right
eggs.
where
like
it's a shell and
Right.
inside of it is goop. It's not
Right,
eggs.
it's not
It's
egg,
all
yeah.
kinds of stuff.
nuts though. Yeah.
Crazy out here,
Yeah.
man.
Wow, bro.
That's crazy.
I got a question, but I don't even know if I really want to ask it. You don't have to answer. I just want to. I'll make a statement. So, McDonald's is actually one of the largest real estate companies in the world, right?
Right.
It sounds like Blue Green's gonna be a hell of a factor when it comes to real estate.
Absolutely. There's a whole real estate arm and division of our company. Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure I was understanding what I was hearing. You know what I mean? Like I ain't trying to go too far, you know, because we gotta have you back. But yeah.
Facts. Oh yeah, and I got a question too, man. With the green and blue, I see y'all getting into hydroponics. Is y'all crossing over into the cannabis industry as well?
So, you know, the body has a whole cannabinoid system,
Right.
right? So, you know, it's undisputable now,
Right.
you know, in 2022, the benefits of cannabis.
Right.
You know, we will be doing ourselves a huge injustice, not positioning ourselves to be able to offer the health benefits of cannabinoids to the members of the green blue marketplace.
That would be ridiculous. Yeah, that
It
makes
would be absurd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes.
And my dad has already made a couple of different discoveries with that we're filing patents on now of how to make stuff grow faster, larger, more nutrient dense, more potent, you know. And so, you know, personally, you know, I believe that we have, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars of intellectual property. Right now, we have about 18 pieces of fileable intellectual property that we'll be filing over the next 60 days.
Man.
Green Blue Marketplace.
I don't think y'all gonna step on no toes nowhere.
Man.
It get real shady and real creepy out here. You know what I'm saying? In industries. You know what I mean?
Protect the Isaacs at all
Yeah,
costs.
protect Isaac at
Yeah,
all
we
costs.
protect all Isaacs at all costs. We're not
Facts,
playing
man.
no games without
That's-
Isaacs out here.
that's a fact.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
We're not playing
That's
no
a fact,
games with the
man.
Isaacs out
That's a
here.
Appreciate
So,
it,
big
man.
fat man.
I'm gonna need y'all.
yeah, for sure.
Facts,
We're not
man.
playing no games with the Isaacs. Yeah, we need Isaacs out here. All the way through 6 and 7. Like, let's not play games.
Facts, man. He out here fighting for your real needs, man. What we need out
What
here.
you
for
really
real.
need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it first started off by trying to make a real economic change.
Yeah.
In the black community. You know, I looked at the third world, and then I saw, you know, while, you know, we have, you know, amenities and access to things here, or availability of things here, but just because something is available doesn't mean that it's accessible. Right. And when it comes to the African American community, you know, a lot of people talk about reparations, and I believe that black people are entitled to reparations. But, you know, I don't think that we need them.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I think that we can get it done without it.
Yeah.
I don't think if we don't get reparations, that it's impossible for us to transform the future of the I-6 and, you know, your
Denton.
right, Denton, right, grandson.
Yes.
Okay. You know, Malcolm X talked about the concept of nationalism, which is a different paradigm, right? There are 40 million African Americans in the United States. 40 million.
Yeah.
More people than the country of France,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
There are more African Americans in the United States than there are people
In France.
in Germany.
In Germany. Wow. Okay.
In Portugal.
Wow.
Right. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, reported that by 2019, and we surpassed it, that the African American community in the United States would have over $1.6 trillion of purchasing power, making us in the top 15 economies in the world. Right. So we have all the money that we really need to
already.
Yeah, already. Yeah. Right. You know, but from an economic standpoint, right, any country or nation that consumes, right, but doesn't produce, right, that consumes far more than what they produce, that's in economic terms, that's called a trade deficit, right? And any country that has a trade deficit, a substantial trade deficit, has very common economic results. Poverty, poor health, lack of land ownership, right? And so that's what we're experiencing here, is that, you know, everyone knows the stats now, they're very popular, that the dollar changes hands in the Jewish community 29 days, in the Asian American communities it's like 24, 25 days, in the average European American community it's 14 days, in the black community 6 hours. You know, that's on memes all over Instagram, right? We may give our dollar to the black barber, right, or the hair salon, right? But when we go to the beauty supply store, it's the Koreans, right? When we go to the grocery store, right, those are the old American,
that's right,
you know, European families, right? When we go to you know, the car dealership and we buy a Toyota, that's the Japanese, right? So you know, we're not producing, right? We discovered that the African American community specifically spends a disproportionate amount of its money as opposed to the other communities on food. And that's why, that was one of the underlying factors of our first step into becoming food producers, is because we wanted to eliminate those food deserts and create a platform where black people can buy food from black people. And now we've seen that the world's conditions are so dire that it's evolved beyond just black. It's about everyone now, right? You know, we're on the brink of you know, a real famine.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I mean, you know, when we first started this work in 2016, my dad said that we maybe had 20, 25 years before, you know, a physical famine could happen. Could happen here. You know, COVID, and now the current new McKinsey report that just released, talking about the GHG, the greenhouse gases, the overfishing of the ocean, I missed that one. The droughts, the world entering into water shortages. You know, we could experience real famine here in 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Or less. Right? It's the canary in the mine. Are you familiar with that term, the canary in the mine?
I'm familiar with the term, but I don't know what it means.
So, you know, back in the day before the gas barometers were created, right, that could detect methane gas, right? You know, methane gas is not detectable by the human nose, right? So the miners would be down in the mines and they'd be, you know, chipping away trying to get the coal, and you could hit a gas pocket that was behind the wall, and then the gas would start seeping out. And you know, you breathe in that methane gas, right? It's like plugging your tailpipe and sitting in your garage, right? You know, you just pass out and you die, right? So they realized that the canary, you know, because its body mass was so much smaller, that a little small amount of that methane gas could kill the canary. So if you were working in the mine and you looked over and you saw the canary wasn't chirping anymore,
gotta go.
Everyone, the alarm would sound off. Everyone get out, and you run toward the elevator and they get up the elevator, right? The canary in the mine is that 50% of the black and brown communities in America are food deserts. And now the food deserts are entering into middle class neighborhoods. Where a food desert is where you have to leave your community to have access to a grocery store. You have to leave where you live to get food. This food is not in your community, right? And so now, exactly. And so now, you know, we're seeing the middle class disappear, right? And the middle class services are disappearing, right? they said that in the next 4 years, that 30% of the grocery stores are closing, right? We already saw Kroger go down, middle class grocery store, right?
Yeah.
Soon it's going to be the Whole Foods and the Trader Joe's and the Walmart.
Yeah.
Right? The middle sector is disappearing, just like the middle class is disappearing.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
We're just gonna be poor and rich.
Yeah.
No middle class.
Boy.
Man, some dark times, boy.
Yeah. but the catch is we could do something about it. Like, he's giving us instruction.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
the people that we have on this show are giving us instruction.
Right. True.
You know what I mean? Or how to keep that dollar in our community, because we are producing things that are valuable to people,
Gotta
that are
produce
valuable
value.
to us. You know? And not just entertainment. And I've been an entertainer. You know what I mean? A creative, that type of person my whole life. We got to do more than that. You know what I mean?
Facts. It's a big fact.
Yeah. So this has been absolutely mind blowing, eye opening.
Lots of jewels, man.
Definitely made me consider some things, bro.
Definitely, man.
Or, what I say is the future is bright.
Yeah, it is.
And it's really all about, vision, right? Looking ahead and figuring out and anticipating the problems. I believe that clarity of vision keeps you increasingly accelerating towards your goals.
Yeah.
The clearer you can see, the farther you can see.
Yeah.
The farther you can see, right, the better you can anticipate.
Yeah.
The better you can anticipate, right, the better that you can plan.
Mm-hmm.
And if you fail to plan, right,
Yeah.
you plan to fail.
I hear that.
Man, he dropped one on you, man.
Yeah, that's real though.
That's real talk right there, man. That's real talk right there, man.
That's real.
That is real talk right there, man. Please take that in and run with it. Like,
Absolutely, because a lot of people put their head in the sand with a lot of the daunting information, a lot of the scary things we talked about, but the way you just explained it, being able to see it, you can plan for it. If you don't plan for it, you're gonna fail.
Yep.
That was absolutely the perfect way to sum that up.
It sure was.
Yeah.
I swear he put the stamp on it, motherfucker.
Yes, sir.
Hey, look, man, this is another episode of Have You Chased Your Check today, man. With a huge guest here today, man. We appreciate you coming,
Appreciate it,
man.
Absolutely.
Showing us love, man, and dropping these gems on us, man.
Yeah. Can we get the name of the establishment and where they're located so people can find you right now?
Yeah,
before we get out of here?
Instagram, Facebook, all the social media platforms is Oak City Fish and Chips. The and is spelled out. We have 2 locations here in Raleigh. Those go for sale next week. We're selling the food hall location and the Southeast Raleigh location and transitioning to being full-time franchisors.
Wow.
And then we'll be releasing our franchise map, which will show you all over the country where you can get your Oak City. We're going to do 3 locations in Durham. We're going to do 4 in Charlotte. We're going to do 1 in Greensboro, 1 in Fayetteville. We're going to go down to the Atlanta area, up to the 7 cities, DC area. We're going to expand out on the East Coast first, down to Miami, up to New York, and then we'll go start branching out from there.
Wow.
So and then the my new company, like I said, which we publicly announced next month, or that I've publicly announced here on this platform.
By the time they get it, it'll be out.
So that's dope.
Yeah, it's called the Green Blue Marketplace.
Green Blue Marketplace.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Make sure y'all remember that, man, because that's gonna be a real big
Game changer.
Game changer.
Game
right there.
changer.
Facts.
World changer.
Facts, man.
Man.
Hey.
Whew.
Once again, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming in here
Absolutely,
talking
man.
with us, man. Hey, he will be back for sure. We're gonna drag him back on here, man. We
Got
need
to.
some more of that.
I'll be back.
Got
Sure,
to.
man. We
This was
enjoyed you,
wonderful.
man.
I live right down the street.
Say no more. All right, man, and we up out of here, man. This is episode 6.
Episode 6, season 3.
Hey, we up out of here, man. We'll see y'all on the next one.
All right.